Good morning, it's Friday the 23rd of May, so another weekly update for you from glorious day up on the downs again, but thankfully this time we have had a little bit of rain this week, which is very, very welcome, and it looks like there's some more to come. Fingers crossed, rain dance at the ready. Course setups this week, so this morning we're out cutting greens, rolling greens, cutting aprons and raking the bunkers as we go, and resetting the holes as we go, and moving markers this morning as a setup. And we've also done a driving range pick and set all the short game area up and all that sort of thing. Elsewhere setups on the golf course this week, we're very much in our sort of summer rhythm, summer flow of how we set the golf course up each week. So on a Friday, obviously, as I've just mentioned, we'll do the bunkers as we go, give them a full rake as we go round. And then on a Thursday, we put a bit extra time into trimming, doing some of the attention to detail stuff. So just getting those sprinklers trimmed up, trimming the fairway distance plates and the tee plates as well, just for those extra attention to detail. Nice things just to keep it everything looking tidy and not getting too overgrown. Frequency of cutting, areas that irrigated, we keep up with a normal rate. So greens are cut 7 days a week at the moment, because they're growing well with the irrigation that they're getting, the soil temperatures being up. Tees generally are twice a week. We have done them twice this week. Aprons would usually be 3 times a week in the summer, and what we did this week is we've cut the Monday and a full cut on Monday and Friday, and then on the Wednesday cut, what we did is we just did one band. We did all the short game area because that's very well irrigated, and then we've come out and done one band around the outside of the green just to keep that neat, keep that tidy, just because that gets hit quite well with the irrigation, whereas some of the fronts of the aprons do dry out quite a bit where the irrigation doesn't reach there, which we're quite happy with. We don't mind that at all, and it encourages a lot of fescue in the grasses we want to encourage. You would never water for agronomics, but you tend to water for performance. So and in the aprons, we're quite happy that they aren't 100% irrigated and getting too wet and need all that extra water, because it gets the grass species in there that with the fescues and things and the bents that we quite like to host in there, which is good for downland and good for maintenance as well. So we're quite happy with that. So that's worked quite well, just doing the one band round there with the aprons. Fairways, we haven't cut fairways this week again. I could almost go out there and just neaten them up, but we would be taking very, very little off. And in the spell that we're in, I always have the saying, what you're spending in water, you save in diesel. So the frequencies of cutting has been incredibly low for spring. Usually we'll be out cutting fairways twice a week, cutting the semi almost once a week, and under the trees once a week this time of year. And then as we start to get into the summer and it gets a bit warmer and a bit drier, we don't get quite as much growth. That sort of backs down to fairways might be once a week, semi once a fortnight, and between trees once a fortnight. But I've only cut fairways twice this spring, really, spring since those spring events, the Clutch and the Pro-Am. As I said, they don't need it. Why? Let's not waste money on diesel. What you spending in water, you're saving in diesel. Yeah, so our water bill is obviously quite higher than it would usually be at the moment, and but you sort of help offset that with the keeping the diesel bill low, because there's no need to go out there and cut for the sake of cutting and not taking anything off. So as I said, so fairways have had a rest again. It does them good to leave the leaf long during periods of drought anyway. So it's more than just a money thing. It's best practice for the fairways. But I like with this rain that we've had, and we'll probably be selective over the ones we do next week. So some of the lower ones, such as 10 or down in the valley at 14, they'll grow a little bit more than certainly 7, 12, 16. They stay very, 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 very dormant and don't grow much at all, and you don't take a lot off those at all this time of year. So just probably be selective over the ones we do next week and just give them a neat and tidy up. So as I said, what what you just to reiterate, what you're spending in water, you try and save and offset in diesel. And the final thing to mention on the core setups this week is that the greens have received their bi-weekly foliar feed of the plant growth regulator, and then we also put a biostimulant in there, which encourages the grass to stand up a little bit to get a better cut on there as well. So that just reduces the clip volume and helps stop getting that elongated growth in the afternoons. So that which is really important when with the fertilizer and particularly the granular fertilizer program, where that nutrient and granular is being released slowly over a 6-8 week period. There's constantly opportunities for growth. So those plant growth regulators are really, really important, because it allows you to get all the benefits of the nutrient for a healthy plant from the granular fertilizer without the mass growth and having to feel like you have to cut twice a day with that nutrient that's available. So yeah, you get the best of both worlds with combining with a program, that fertility program that combines those two factors. So as I said, Greens and Aprons have had that plant growth regulator. We were due to put a wetting agent out in our program next week on greens and teas and green surrounds. We'll see what this weather does. If we get quite a volume of rain, then we'll ease off those wetting agent applications, because we only really put them out. I've changed the way we've operated. I only tend to put the wetting agents out in drought. I found that if you put a wetting agent out 2.5-3 weeks later, you go out to hand water, and all of the water runs off and isn't being absorbed very well. So to me, that says that it only lasts in the plant in the soil for so long, and then it's sort of leached out and isn't working quite as well as it was when you first apply it. So I only apply it during what I call hand watering periods, hand watering season. So if we've got good volumes of rain, there's no need to put that wetting agent out. I just put it out as a support for when we're doing automated irrigation or hand irrigation, to help retain the moisture that we're putting on there, as opposed to when we're getting natural rainfall. Natural rainfall falls very, very lightly. Obviously, it's lightly over a long period of time, whereas automated and hand water irrigation tends to be much more almost like a storm, where what you get from a natural storm, where it's a large volume of water in a short space of time. So the wetting agents just help retain that moisture in there whilst you're applying that, and so they're not running off all the time. So yeah, and wetting agents are very, very expensive. So for me, it makes far more sense to only use them when we're putting a lot of automated water out or hand watering, to try and help retain that moisture that we're putting in there, as opposed to when it's raining. I don't feel the need to. What I feel works on our site is we don't tend to need to use those wetting agents. So hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, they're due to go out next week, but if we get plenty of rain, then I'll delay it for a week or so, see what the weather's going to be look at what the weather's going to be for the upcoming couple of weeks after that. And if it's going for a dry spell and getting warm again, and we know we're going to start using that automated irrigation system and hand watering, then I'll do another application of wetting agent. But so that's how we're operating, because how we have operated is just to stick it out every couple of weeks or once a month, whatever our program has been, without really considering the weather. But so we're just sort of trying to manage that a little bit better this year, and doing what we really need to, and what's specific for us.
Teas have had some attention this week for nutrition and work on plant health. A couple of weeks ago, we put Granular on greens, and I wanted to do one on teas, but we were a little bit too warm, so I was worried about scorch, and there's no rain around to help wash it in. And also I mentioned last week we've done an irrigation audit on teas, and just where most of the teas are fine, but we just need to get round and fix some of the broken heads, because we're not getting great coverage on the teas everywhere at the moment. So we want that confidence to be able to water that fertiliser in to avoid the scorch, which is why I've held off on putting that fertiliser out. But we've cooled off, and we've got some rain forecasts over the weekend. When I came in on Monday, it looked like we were only going to get a couple of mil Wednesday. We ended up having more of that, but so I planned almost my whole week around looking after those teas. So that included cutting the teas on the Thursday, and then we went and divoted them on the afternoon, and then put a granular fertiliser in behind that. Had I known what the forecast would have been, then I would have done that earlier in the week and on Monday, Tuesday, and then let that 6 minute rain that we had on Wednesday come in. But it didn't look like we were going to get that much when we were first planning the week on Monday. But having said that, as I said, we've had a bit of rain. Looks like we're going to get a bit of rain Saturday, and into next week as well. And as I said, it's cooled off, so we shouldn't have any issues with the scorch on the fertiliser. So that's good. That gets them well fed and all topped up with divots, and that smartens them all up and encourage them to recover the best we can get them to. Last week I mentioned it was spraying season, so then this week the bunkers have had some attention. The weeds have just grown, I wouldn't say out of control, but out of control of where we would like to manage them to. So we've just popped round and sprayed some Roundup on those to make sure they're dying and not continuing to grow. And then we'll get in and pick these out at some point over the next week or two. And then also, whilst we were going around as well, we sprayed a product on the top of the bunkers, spot sprayed a spray that kills off the thicker grasses. Over the years, we've managed to get the right species of grass in the wispy rough to host wispy rough by spraying out the thicker grasses as a product that will just target those thicker grasses, which is a great and very clever product. So so we looked at the bunker tops and just to maintain and ensure we're getting that rustic look and definition, but maintaining wispy for aesthetics and any balls that go in those areas, the few balls that go in those areas, just making sure they stay nice and thin and wispy. So so that was also performed for as I said, for those aesthetics and keep those wispy. With the dry weather and sort of lower frequency of cutting, and now all the strimming's done, it's giving us a nice time and opportunity to get and do some catch up, attention to detail jobs that have been on the list for a while and we've been meaning to get to, but haven't always been quite as a priority as either setting the golf course up or prominent jobs on the golf course, regular maintenance that needs doing. So one of those jobs is to overseed, fertilise, overseed, and put a bit of top dressing on the hydraulic leak that we had on the short game area and the night vapour. And it has been done once before already, but we just to encourage that growth through the summer and prior to a bit of rain that's forecast. This will hopefully help these along and get them back to their best and well on the road to recovery. Another tidy up job has been, we spent a bit of time up around the 15th hole this week as well, just trimming back some hedges and strimming under the post and rope and down the pathways as well, just to tidy all those areas up and get them set ready for the season, so nothing's overgrowing. And finally, you may see a couple of areas dug out around the golf course on your travels this week. Over at 15 and 8, we've just exposed a couple of isolation valves that aren't working, and we're going to replace. We've got a couple of leaks on the system, so we're just going to sort those isolation valves out to help us try and narrow down where those leaks are. Do some investigation into there, so we can narrow that down and try and get those repaired. And contractors will be in next week to assist us with that. And that's all for this week, folks. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Looking ahead to next week, we've got bank holiday week, so a four full day working week. Just be a course setup on Monday, and then Tuesday afternoon. Quite looking forward to taking the boys down to Swindon Town Football Club for their going to do there's a little education event going on down there, and we get to see their pitch renovations, which is always good to see how other sports turf operate, and good for sort of development and networking within the turf industry as well. So looking forward to that, and then continuing on with many of the attention to detail jobs that we've started or on the list to do in the afternoons after course setup next week.